The latest Daily Mail smear against Meghan Markle is not journalism, it is not reporting, and it is certainly not rooted in any kind of logic. What they published is yet another performance, another ritualistic attempt to manufacture outrage over a woman who simply exists outside their control. The obsession has become so predictable that you can practically hear the editorial meeting. "Good morning, team," Meghan breathed yesterday. How do we turn that into a scandal? And like clockwork, the new headline was born, accusing Meghan of copying Pamela Anderson because she chose to appear barefaced on the cover of Harper's Bazaar. That's right. In 2025, the Daily Mail is trying to convince grown adults that a bare face is plagiarism. Let that sink in. This is what happens when a media machine runs on desperation, not accuracy. Before we even touch the absurdity of the comparison, we must acknowledge something fundamental. Meghan's Harper's Bazaar cover was themed around authenticity. Her message in that feature was about rejecting perfection, releasing judgment, healing, embracing womanhood, and showing up in a world that constantly expects her to shrink. It was about stripping away the performance society imposes on women, especially on black and biracial women, and showing her real self. But instead of discussing her words, her evolution, her motherhood, or her advocacy, the Daily Mail bulldozed past all substance and went straight into manufacturing drama. They didn't care what the article said. They cared only about forcing a narrative that paints Meghan as manipulative, unoriginal, and attention-seeking. Because that is the character they built for her, and they refuse to let it go. And so they dragged Pamela Anderson into the conversation, a woman who has never accused Meghan of copying her and who actually supports women living authentically. The tabloids pulled Pamela's name into the story solely to spark rivalry, cliques, and confusion. They know that if they can twist Meghan's choices into an imitation narrative, they can cheapen her identity. But authenticity is not something you can copy. No woman owns the concept of a bare face. This accusation is as hollow as it is sexist. And the funniest part? The tabloids think they're clever. They genuinely believe the world won't notice the desperation dripping from their headlines. But we see it clearly, their panic, their obsession, their inability to cope with a Meghan who is free. The British tabloids are furious about this cover because they cannot control the messaging. When Meghan was in the royal institution, they shaped the narrative around her. They distorted stories, they twisted facts, they projected stereotypes, and they used her image as a punching bag. All while the palace stood silently behind them. But after Meghan and Harry walked away from the monarchy, the press lost access. They lost the ability to dictate her story, and nothing terrifies them more than a woman speaking for herself. A barefaced Meghan is dangerous to them, not because of her skin, but because of what it symbolizes. A woman presenting herself authentically threatens the manufactured caricature they spent years building for profit. A calm, confident, radiant Meghan contradicts the monster they invented. And here is the pattern. The tabloids never attack Meghan directly. They always drag in another woman to weaponize comparison. Meghan versus Kate, Meghan versus Diana, Meghan versus Hollywood actresses, Meghan versus influencers she's never met, Meghan versus Pamela Anderson. They love creating narratives where women appear jealous, competitive, bitter, or catty, because misogyny sells. The press thrives on the idea that women cannot coexist without rivalry. They want Meghan to be the villain, always reacting to someone else's choices. But notice how they never compare Prince Harry to other men. They never pit William against celebrities. They never frame male public figures as imitators or attention seekers. This smear tactic is targeted, intentional, and rooted in sexism. The cooking show accusation is another example of this absurdity. According to the tabloids, Meghan's show with love is a copy of Pamela Anderson's Cooking with Love. The logic? Both include the word love. That's like saying two songs are plagiarized because they both mention heart. It's that ridiculous. Netflix productions take years, entire teams, producers, writers, designers. Yet the tabloids want people to believe Meghan saw Pamela's show and immediately scrambled to replicate it. They don't care about timelines, facts, or credibility. They care only about shaping Meghan as unoriginal, as desperate, as someone who must seek validation through copying others. But Meghan has spent years producing original work, hosting groundbreaking podcasts, archiving royal stories, building charity foundations, and establishing the Archewell brand. Originality is not her problem. The tabloids' insecurity is. What the tabloids hate most is not the makeup. It's not the cooking show. It's not the magazine. It's not even the global recognition Meghan receives. What they truly fear is the freedom she embodies. Meghan represents a woman who escaped their narrative. She walked away from the royal machine with her dignity intact, created a peaceful life, and built an empire rooted in compassion, service, and intentional storytelling. She raises her children away from cameras. She chooses her projects. She sets boundaries. She defines herself, not through the monarchy, not through the tabloids, not through public opinion, but through her values. And a woman who is no longer seeking their approval is the ultimate threat. Let's also talk about one specific line Meghan said in her interview. "No one in the world loves me more than Harry." That sentence broke the internet. Why? Because it exposed the tabloids' biggest lie, the fantasy they created where Meghan is unloved, insecure, and clinging to Harry for relevance. Instead, Meghan calmly revealed that her marriage is strong, protective, passionate, and grounded. The tabloids feed on broken families. They worship dysfunction. They rely on misery to sell stories. So when Meghan expresses joy, love, and security, it destroys the foundation of their narrative. A woman who is deeply loved cannot be painted as desperate. A woman who is supported cannot be portrayed as manipulative. A woman in a healthy relationship cannot fit into their archetype of the troublesome duchess. And the press hates that. Here is the real plot twist of the entire smear campaign. Meghan didn't respond. She didn't clap back. She didn't acknowledge the accusations. She didn't even give the tabloids the satisfaction of a side eye. She simply posed for a cover and went home to her children. Her silence is the ultimate rejection of their relevance. Her peace is the ultimate humiliation for their chaos. Her authenticity is the ultimate destruction of their agenda. The truth, the one the tabloids can't stand, is simple. Meghan is not copying Pamela Anderson or any other woman. She's expressing her own identity. She's defining her own narrative. She's building her own empire. and she is thriving despite years of harassment designed to break her. Every time she rises, the tabloids are forced to confront their own failure. Every time she glows, they must watch helplessly. Every time she stands in her truth, their lies collapse. Because a woman who has stepped fully into her power is impossible to diminish. She is unstoppable, unshakable, and unbothered. And Meghan Markle, calm, confident, authentic, barefaced and glowing, is shining brighter than ever.